Deputy President. As a servant to the people of Queensland and Australia, I support this bill. Shoddy governance is Australia's greatest problem and biggest threat. The absence of data in making policies and legislation. Some parties go to great lengths to avoid data and substitute instead emotion. That is partly corruption, but this bill that we are discussing today goes to real corruption, illegal corruption. Initially, I thought Parliament contained the procedures for self-accountability. After 2 years, I realised I was wrong. Then I started participating enthusiastically in presentations and discussions in this building and outside around a National Crime and Corruption Commission. And I thank the many people who I listened to, lawyers, judges, former judges, everyday Australians concerned about corruption. I appreciate the conversations that I had with former Senator Bill Heffernan. I realised and I spoke out about the fact that we need to have a commission in place to provide oversight of four main groups: federal members of parliament, federal bureaucrats and public servants, federal judges and federal police. So now I turn to the government's proposal. For too long, corruption in government has been almost impossible to deal with because current protections are totally inadequate. Each state has a body to deal with corruption at state levels of government. All the state bodies, though, face jurisdictional and evidential hurdles. Whistleblower protections, particularly for private sector whistleblowers, have failed to provide assumed protections. In recent years, many whistleblowers have had their lives and/or careers publicly and privately trashed, destroyed. Some have faced criminal charges or been destroyed financially through civil actions. Integrity, as an expected attribute of those in public office, has been invisible and left to chance. That lack of integrity destroys trust, the people's trust in governance of this country. This bill, when passed with appropriate amendments, will go a long way towards setting up a workable scheme ensuring that integrity becomes a fundamental feature of our legislature and executive arms of government. To get this bill right, a number of issues need to be addressed through internal and external amendment. One thing this bill does not address is third-party corrupt conduct, where the person being dealt with is an otherwise innocent public official dragged unknowingly into a circle of corruption. This is a scenario included within the jurisdictions of most state anti-corruption bodies, except Tasmania and Western Australia. To be comprehensive, the bill must include this scenario to ensure that corruption, even involving innocent public officers, can still be investigated for corruption. This bill, it's important to understand, this bill is not designed to be purely or only punitive. It's much more than that. It's designed to get to the root cause of corrupt processes and practices and systems, and to rectify, to eliminate and prevent corruption, and to systematically do that and systematically prevent corruption. This provision will assist in identifying relationships vulnerable to abuse and exploitation, so that processes may be introduced to provide effective risk management and oversight and accountability. This will be an alternative to relying on the ability to satisfy the restrictive requirements of proving crime beyond reasonable doubt. That's highly restrictive. We need better than that. Another power that should be clarified in the bill is the Commission's power to commence investigation of its own volition, without being reliant on external referrals from other agencies or individuals. This clarification would ensure that the source of complaints or information does not limit the full ambit of justification for investigations. Now, the issue of public hearings has challenged those in favour generally of establishing this commission. It's been suggested that holding public hearings may expose a person to vilification of their reputation when potentially otherwise there may be insufficient evidence to establish an offence. People are worried that this will be used as a mechanism to turn into unjustifiable political witch hunts, as we've seen in some of the states. Previously, this was one of my concerns and was the reason for my rejection in its earlier form. To address this, the bill indicates that hearings may be held in private unless the Commissioner is satisfied that exceptional circumstances, as it says in the bill, justify holding the hearing in public, and it's in the public interest to do so. The phrase exceptional circumstances, if included in the bill, would make it virtually impossible to hold public hearings, as it will require a court to determine whether circumstances are in fact exceptional. That's a lawyer fest for sure. The removal of the requirement of exceptional circumstances is essential, and there are proposed amendments before the Senate that would fix this problem. I support these amendments. It would be appropriate that if a public hearing is held, the Commissioner or a Deputy Commissioner should be presiding, because they are legally qualified to deal with the more obvious legal issues. Another concern raised with me is the composition of the proposed Parliamentary Joint Committee, where the Chair is required to be a member of the government. Now, this raises questions on the independence of the Joint Committee, and a better solution may be that the Chair should not be a member of a political party forming government, or should at least be a person enjoying bipartisan support of the committee. It's important that an extensive whistleblower protection authority be established to ensure protection for genuine disclosures. The government assures me that the introduction of such an authority is imminent and an essential supportive element of this bill's operation. Next, I raise what Senator Bill Heffernan has raised with me in extensive discussions, and also personal discussions, and also senior judges and practitioners of the law. It's important that what's missing from this bill is the jurisdiction to overview the misconduct and actions of the judiciary. This option is desperately needed, and there is information showing that this jurisdiction has been overlooked for far too long. It needs to be included. It must be included. It would be welcome to think that our judges are all free from human weaknesses, but they're human. In practice, that's not a realistic conclusion, that they are free from human weaknesses. Judges are human and susceptible to the human frailties that may lead to misconduct in their offices. We know that. The judiciary must have a mechanism that provides independent review of the conduct of its members. I look forward to the development of a bill to cover judges and senior police, and associated amendments to strengthen the safeguards designed to protect our society from evildoers hiding behind public office. A bill the government has flagged with us. The Australian public deserves protection and reassurance. The people deserve integrity. To be effective, government must be trusted. We do not have trust in governance at the moment, but that's what we need. We have one flag above this building, one flag for the nation. We are one community, we are one nation, and we support the integrity of our political representatives and public officers, whose duty is one of service to the people. Our duty is of service to the people. Thank you, Mr. Acting Deputy President.
Thank you, Sir Roberts.